Hi, everyone. Welcome to another amazing topic of conversation. As we continue Women's History Month, this will be enhancing another story of another amazing woman. But first of all, I want to thank our sponsors, the Health Channel. So please sign up for their newsletter and stay tuned for their Women's Health Fair. We want to welcome also our new sponsor, Aventura Moms, a group where all the resources can be found, and also for any need regarding your workspaces, please contact Alexa's Workspaces, whether if it's virtual or you need a space to work in. They have really good facilities, programs, or a boardroom. So now let's welcome our speaker, Edith. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Gladys.
I know that we spoke a while ago. I don't even want to remember why we spoke because it was a very traumatic story and a very traumatic part in the story of our backyard.
Yes.
In Surfside. But today I understand that your book is doing really good.
Yes.
And I want to talk about your book because
wonderful.
You write, normally trauma is associated with painful, negative feelings. But you write that trauma is a gift. So that is the reason why I wanted to invite you today, because how can we take trauma and turn it into a gift?
I know that's the question that everybody asks. And, thank you so much, Gladys, for inviting me to this amazing conversation with you. I know a few years ago in the middle of the pandemic, we spoke about a very collective traumatic event in our backyard. And it was very, I think, helpful and useful for people to listen to that and to actually open the conversation about things that are not so easy to talk about. One of the reasons why I wrote a book, it's called The Unexpected Gift of Trauma, is because I want to tell people, in my experience of 25 years of being a clinical psychologist, that I've seen trauma over and over and over. And I've also seen the transformation that happens after trauma. So trauma is not necessarily a life sentence. It's not something that is going to keep you in the suffering, in the pain, in the stuckness, in the loss. But if you really do the work, if you really go through the process, you can get to a place and you can get to a space and a stage of what we call post-traumatic growth. And that's really what this book is about. It's not the trauma, but it's what happens after the trauma.
But wait, after the trauma, isn't it considered also PTSD, that you relive a traumatic experience?
Yes, so that's a great question, because PTSD means it's a diagnosis. Exactly, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a diagnosis. So in my experience, what I've seen, Gladys, that it's so interesting is that we have a group of people that stay stuck in the PTSD, that stay stuck in the repetition of the trauma. There's another group of people that are able to overcome it and heal, and they go to therapy, or they do the things that they need to do, or they're more resilient and they really get over the trauma and they can't bounce back, let's say. But there's a third group of people, which is the people that I'm really interested in, that go through horrific events or go through very challenging life situations. And those situations become a springboard for transformation. They become this opportunity to change their lives, to transcend what they're going through, and takes them to another level of understanding of themselves, of life, of others. And that's really what can happen. And I mean, I'm amazed to see it over every time, not only in individuals, but in couples or in families or in groups or in even cultures and communities. So that's really like a beacon of hope, to bring.
So there is a beacon of hope that you can transform. I heard recently about a friend of mine that her mom used to be very scared of everything. Well, my mom used to be very nervous, but she didn't, how do you say the word, privarlos?
She didn't
like she didn't stop us from doing
refrain.
she didn't
Yes.
stop us from doing things because like she was nervous for everything, but we were able to do everything and she encouraged us to do everything. But my friend told me that her mom was scared of everything and she didn't let her do anything. So it was like, don't go here because you're gonna get hurt, or don't do this because you're gonna get hurt. And she grew up being scared of everything. And now she made the decision of not living in fear. But I've heard other people that they have transferred that fear and those trauma, especially in Jewish women that have come from a war that started over and have literally passed from generation to generation that fear and their traumas to their kids and their grandkids.
Yeah, no. This is a super important question that you're asking me, because sometimes people don't know why they're afraid of things. I had a family that was very afraid of water. They wouldn't go into the water, and they don't even know what's the origin of that fear.
The whole family?
Like the mother that would bring it to the daughters, and the daughters to their own. Like it went 3 generations, and really when we stop and look at it, and what research shows and what a lot of studies have shown, is that the way that we understand life, the belief system that we have, how we understand ourselves and others and how the world works, it's not just from our experiences, but it's from what we inherit from our parents and our ancestors, not just psychologically and emotionally, but even genetically, biologically, like the memory of the cells. So sometimes, and we see it, especially, there's interesting research in the Holocaust survivors, first, second, third generation, and other genocides in the world, in which you see even third generation of kids behaving and acting as if they've been at war, as if they've been in that lack of food or persecution or fear of life or mistrust or not having a sense of belonging, or believing that the world is a dangerous place all around, which is the example that you're giving. When a mother keeps sending the limiting belief message to their children, the world is a dangerous place, these kids are going to grow up making decisions around that belief, and then they're going to pass it on to their own children, and that creates so many challenging experiences around them, and so many traumatic experiences that they keep associating with something negative, that then it becomes a intergenerational trauma.
But how do they pass it? Like
for example, a mother is saying to the daughter, when you're a little, when the children are little, they say, you learn the world through your parents, right? You learn the world first through the experiences in childhood. If your experiences in childhood are, be careful, people are dangerous, don't trust anyone, don't come out of the house, I'm not going to let you go this place because it's dangerous, I'm not going to allow you to ride a bike or go try out new things. So those words and those messages inform the way a child understands the world. And according to that, they say, well, if the world is a dangerous place, I have to be defensive. I have to be prepared for threats.
For anything.
For anything. So I'm not able to relax. I'm not able to trust. I'm always have to be in fight or flight mode, right? And that child grows up relating to themselves and to others from that space of being defensive. Not only that, but it's interesting that now we know through epigenetics that that very experience
Wait, go back. For the normal people, what is epigenetics?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, that whatever information we have in our genes, right, in our DNA, those experiences of fear, of threat, of like defensive behavior,
so
starts modifying the information in your biology, in your cells. So imagine that.
So not only we inherit physical traits, but we also inherit behavioral.
Exactly. When we not only inherit the color of our hair and the color of our eyes, but a lot of the times we inherit the expression of genes, the expression of information in our body that it's associated to experiences. Imagine that, which is an amazing thing in a good way. Why? Because if we can change it to something negative, we can also change it to something positive.
No, I get it. But what you're saying is that everybody with a different kind of behavior has to go through the whole therapy session?
What I'm saying is that all of us have some sort of traumatic experience. Some of us have big ones, some of us have small ones, some of us have experiences that have affected our everyday lives. But all of us have the responsibility to become aware of who we are and how are we informed in our decisions in life. Meaning, if I reject men and I'm not able to have a good relationship with men, is it because I have bad experiences with men, or is it because my parents were always telling me that men are not to be trusted? If I enter men, women, children, whatever, I'm just giving that as an example. If you enter a relationship and you are constantly hearing and listening and seeing, and in your body you have this information like, don't trust anybody, don't allow yourself to open up and show that you're vulnerable, or show that you're loved, or show that you have feelings, because then you're going to be hurt, and then you're going to be attacked, and then you're going to be disrespected and humiliated. And you hear that over and over and over, and you see your parents doing that, and you see how they behave. This is what you're going to bring into your own relationship. And then your children are going to see that too, and they're going to be repeating the same thing. So it's not just the psychological context, but it's also ingrained in our biological information.
So how do we stop that cycle?
I know it's not an easy thing to do, but the step number one is to become aware of it. And that's why I propose this 5-stage model of post-traumatic growth. And the step number one is this radical acceptance. Like when you stop in your tracks and you say, okay, let me look at my cycle of trauma. Let me look at what I have inherited from my parents or from my ancestors. Maybe I come from a group of people or a culture that constantly feels persecuted. Let me choose, what am I taking for myself? Is that real? Am I behaving as I'm being persecuted all the time? And then that's the first thing to do, to realize and to be aware of who you are and what's going on with you in that moment.
Or if something triggers a very bad experience, and it triggers it and it comes back, even though
yes, that's typical. That's a typical thing of what happens when you have an experience of trigger, when you get activated into a trauma that you had in the past, and you are like, all of a sudden, wow, what's happening? I didn't remember. Or why am I feeling this way? Or how am I reacting so disproportionate to what's happening? How is that possible? So, you know, I had a patient who she had a pretty decent, stable life. She got married. She has a daughter. When the daughter was 5 years old, she's in the park, you know, playing with her daughter, whatever. All of a sudden, she sees her daughter from a distance as a 5-year-old, and she starts getting into a panic attack and starts sweating and getting all anxious. And she sees herself as a 5-year-old child and starts remembering that at 5 years old, she was sexually molested and sexually abused by her cousins around. And when she went to the park, her cousins would follow her, and then she was sexually abused. And that triggered a whole host of memory. Yeah, it activated memories that she inherited from when she was a child, and she was passing on to her own children as well. So it was at that moment that she said, you know what, I have to do the responsible thing of like stopping right here and putting name and identify how I'm feeling and what happened to me. And this is what's happening. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and I have to face it, and I have to do something about it if I don't want to repeat it, and I don't want my children, my children's children to have that too.
To have it. So what's the second step?
So the second step is called security and protection. That means that once you do that, you allow yourself to open up and reach out for help, which is not easy to do, right? Because imagine realizing that you're a victim of sexual abuse and having that as a huge secret, and the humiliation and the difficulty of doing that. And then at some point you're ready to say, you know what, let me talk to a therapist, let me talk to my best friend, let me talk to my mother, let me talk to my yoga teacher, let me talk to an energy healer, and say, this is what's happening to me. I need help. I need to work through this through. So that starts a whole process of expressing how you feel, how you think, with your body, with your mind, with your heart, with your spirit. You know, you go through the process. And then the third stage is a stage of writing a new narrative, creating a new narrative for yourself. So it's not just that you are a victim of sexual abuse or you are a survivor of sexual abuse, but what else are you? What else? What else is there? Maybe being afraid of men is not the thing to do. Maybe there are other things that I can think about. Maybe I don't have to think that the whole world is dangerous. I can think like, okay, there's some things that are dangerous, but there's some things that are wonderful, and I can trust people. So you start exploring other paradigms, other ways of thinking, other opportunities, and you start rewriting your own story, you know. And then the fourth stage is the stage of integration, which you take all of who you were and all of who you are, and you're a whole person with the good and the bad, the big and the small, the dark and the light. You know, it's a whole, you're a whole person, and you acknowledge who you are. And then you get to the fifth stage, which is the stage of post-traumatic growth, which is the stage of wisdom and growth, in which you really appreciate your life. You start having more meaningful relationships. You understand that so well that you can almost teach it to other people. Usually in this stage, people become so conscious of who they are and the process they went through, that they turn and start helping other people around. So for example, my patient who did that, she created a whole movement to support women with sexual abuse, of forgiveness, of Ho'oponopono. She went in there, and this is her, she wrote a book about it. This is her life mission, you know, like it really changes the way that you see life.
So that's why you call it the gift of trauma.
Exactly.
That is really amazing. So can you please show us the book? So
anybody
that is interested in buying her book, The Unexpected Gift of Trauma,
yes,
Amazon, Books and Books.
Everywhere. Amazon, Books and Books, Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Indie. It's on audio also. It's on hardcover. I think it's on paperback. Soon in Spanish in a few months, God willing. And yes, all around the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And it is an honor having you as part of this month. Well, thank you. And to everyone, have an amazing day, and above all, stay safe.
Thank you, Gladys, for everything that you do and all the wonderful spaces that you create. Really, thank you so much.